Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadilaksham Yekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Nithyanandam, welcoming one and all for this beautiful segment, and on this very important and significant day of World Autism Awareness Day. Kailasa's Department of Health and Kailasa's Uniting Nations for Healing Autism joins the United Nations in observing the World Autism Awareness Day. What is the World Autism Awareness Day? Can move to the next slide. Joining me today in this segment is Ma Nithya Prameyananda. And today we have a very special segment where we share with you about autism. We share with you about the statistics about autism, the medical diagnosis of autism, and we share with you about how hundreds of parents who have had the healing touch of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who have seen their child go through the spiritual healing process by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. They are going to come today and share with all of us as we create more awareness about autism, as we create more awareness about how autism is being healed by the spiritual healing of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. First, we would like to share with you about what is the World Autism Awareness Day.
The World Autism Awareness Day, and welcome to all the viewers. And thank you, Nithyananda Swami, for the introduction. Yes, we welcome all of you today for this very special segment. And what is the Autism Awareness Day? It is an internationally recognized day on 2nd April every year, encouraging member states of the United Nations to take measures to raise awareness about people with autistic spectrum disorders, including autism and Asperger's syndrome throughout the world. It was designated by the United Nations General Assembly Resolution. World Autism Awareness Day passed in Council on the 1st November 2007 and was adopted on the 18th December 2007. And today it's the 14th year.
Now on this World Autism Awareness Day, Kailasa's Department of Health and Kailasa's Uniting Nations for Healing Autism, with the grace and the blessings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, is taking the spiritual responsibility of creating awareness about the autistic disorder and giving the solution of how you can spiritually heal an autistic child through the blessings and the healing of the Supreme Pontiff. Before we get started on that, let's give an introduction to what is autism. Autism spectrum disorder is a complex developmental condition that involves persistent challenges in social interaction, speech and nonverbal communication, and restricted or repetitive behaviors. The effect of autism spectrum disorder and the severity of the symptoms are different in each person. What are some of the key facts and statistics of autism around the world today?
The facts. 1 in 160 children has an autism spectrum disorder, the ASD. ASD is begin in childhood and land to persist into adolescent and adulthood. While some people with ASD can live independently, others have severe disabilities and require lifelong care and support. Intervention for people with ASD needs to be accompanied by broader actions for making physical, social, and attitudinal environments more acceptable, inclusive, and supportive. Worldwide, people with ASD are often subject to stigma, discrimination, and human rights violations. Globally, access to services and support for people with ASD is inadequate.
In 2020, it was estimated that around 222 in 10,000 children in the United States had autism spectrum disorder, one of the highest prevalence rates in the world. The autism spectrum disorder includes a variety of disorders. The spectrum denotes the range of symptoms as well as their severity. Spectrums can include difficulties with speech, social communication and interaction, repetitive behavior, sensory issues, and hypersensitivity to stimuli.
In the United States, autism spectrum disorder is more common among boys than girls. In the US, around 3.63% of boys aged 3 to 17 had autism spectrum disorder compared to 1.25% of girls. According to the most recent available data, the Northeast region had the highest rate of autism spectrum disorder in the US with around 3%.
It is unclear what causes autism spectrum disorder, and there is no cure. Therapy can help children with autism spectrum disorder develop social communication and self-care skills that can help them better live with their disorder. Many children with autism spectrum disorder also suffer from other disorders such as attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, a learning disability, or an intellectual disability.
And now you can see the graph which presents the prevalence of autism spectrum disorder among children in selected countries worldwide as of 2020. And this is the number per 10,000 people, 10,000 children. So at the top, you can see Hong Kong, then South Korea and United States that are 3 countries with the largest amount of the prevalence of autism spectrum disorder among children.
The research shows a rise in the autism rate in the United States. Here you can see in the graph, from the year 2000 to 2014, the percentage of autism has increased from 1 in 150 children to now 1 in 59 children. Currently in 2014, it is at a rate of 16.8. 1 in 59 children suffer from autism. And now we would like to invite an expert on this subject, Dr. Pranjal Kale, a pediatrician, a practicing pediatrician since 18 years in the city of Mumbai. And Dr. Pranjal is known for her holistic approach towards children's health. She is attached to the prestigious tertiary care hospital in Mumbai as a consultant. She is also a trustee of an NGO named SOPAN, which runs a school and training center for children with autism. She is a faculty for autism and trains parents and therapists in autism short courses for the last 8 years. She is also an ardent devotee of the Supreme Pontiff for the last 10 years, along with her whole family. It gives us immense pleasure in inviting Dr. Pranjal Kale for our panel today. Nithyananda Ma.
Thank you so much for making me part of this program today. Privilege.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Pranjal. And if you can share to all our viewers, we are observing the World Autism Awareness Day as a part of, along with the United Nations. And we would like you to shed some light about autism. What really causes autism, and how do you detect, what are the symptoms of autism that you typically detect, and at around what age?
Yeah. So I heard the introduction which you and Adama gave right now. And as you clearly said, there are mainly three domains where the children with autism suffer. First is social interaction. Secondly, social communication, which can be verbal or non-verbal, which is much more of an emotional and language side. And third part is repetitive or stereotypical behaviors or interests. They are stuck in certain routines. So these are the three things which actually hamper them from becoming a part of a society or a regular school. Now, the incidence also, as you said, it's 1 into 116, but every country had different incidences, and it's growing or not growing is a big debatable issue. We initially thought 20 years down the lane that it's a new disease or a new condition of a modern era. But when I really researched, even Charak Samhita has mentioned the condition equivalent to autism under the umbrella term of Unmada. So it's not at all a new disorder. Whether the awareness has increased or whether the detection has increased is one part. But there has been a huge study, population-based study in UK, which actually questioned people above 40 years. And they found the autism incidences in 1 in 200. So it's definitely not only a new disorder, it has been there, maybe surfacing up to awareness right now. What are the other questions, Ma, which you asked?
Beautiful, Ma. And so other question, if you can shed light on how does and when does autism typically get detected? Is it only in children? Does it occur in adults? When does it get detected?
So as again you mentioned, it's a neurodevelopmental disorder, and it presents to us, or it kind of reveals itself when the communication milestones are getting achieved, which is between 9 months to 15 months, when the language develops, when the child starts interacting. This is the time when child is interacting with the environment more, the diet is more, many other things are happening. So the children who are genetically susceptible might react to environment differently, and whichever milestones they have achieved, they might regress on it, or they actually kind of present and we understand, okay, there is deficit in social milestones. So the earliest screening tool which we can apply is at 9 months. Officially, clinically, we can diagnose autism at 2 years, but honestly, we can start working on these kids before they start kind of going in shell, as soon as we see some kind of warning signs, which is basically 9 months to 18 months of age. Whether it can happen.
And does it always?
Yes,
and does it always happen at birth, or can autism also develop as we grow up?
So, the pure autism is but it's a disorder where there are multiple symptoms are involved. It's like the viral fever will also have cough. It's actually all well grown, causes or suffers some kind of a damage because of some trauma or infection or hormonal changes, immune reactions. Those brain parts which are associated with social communication can get damaged, and these people will have symptoms which are representing autism, but they will not exactly fall into category of autism. Their prognosis or their process might be different than how a kid with autism will behave. So autism starts in an infant, but the symptoms can be possible in adults to be seen.
Is it possible? Is there a cure for autism in the world today?
Well, a very, very important question. And I actually keep on telling that I don't see autism as a disease, Ma. It's just a brain which is just like yours and mine, which is functioning differently. It's because we don't understand their functioning. We kind of label it as a disability or a disorder or a disease, and we try to fix it. They have certain limitations. Because of that, they can't tap onto their potential to the maximum. If we kind of help them to overcome the limitations with some kind of a training or whatever, it may be a social interaction training, language, behavior, where we kind of take away the limitations, the real part or the real potential or the flower actually blossoms out, which has all the potential, or perhaps much more potentials than what you and me have, maybe in different directions. So I will not look at a cure. I will make the child equipped so they can survive independently in the society, and they can be a contributing members of that society with whatever potentials they have. So it's
Wow,
helping the kid grow rather than
trying to
break
cure the
and
kid.
then make. Yes.
Beautiful, Ma. That's actually a very different way, a different perspective to the whole autism and how the world observes autistic children. And does lifestyle have any say in how autism develops or the causes of autism? Does the lifestyle, the food that we eat, the way that we live, does that impact autistic kids or autism at all?
So science is still struggling to find the reason why the autism is happening, its environment or its genetic. But there have been multiple observational studies, and what we have realized is there are multiple factors which starts working before the child is born. So it's mother as a host, the ova, the father as a host, and the sperm. The process starts from that. After that, when the baby is in the womb, again certain factors which can affect the baby's growth, and after the baby is born, some factors are grown. So it's a complete process. If we try to only correct the child, that's not going to work, because the source of the disability can be in the ova, can be in the sperm, or can be in the mother's womb itself. So there are many factors which have been associated, but few very common factor is metabolic diseases in the mother, like diabetes, hypertension, and obesity, which is purely lifestyle related. It is highly associated with allergies in the kids as well as family, which is, I'm very sure, is related to genetically modified food which we people are eating, or the food which is not meant for us to be eaten. These are the factors. And along with that, stress, medicines in the mother, sleep pattern, all these things have impacted the growing brain before it was kind of started growing, and maybe after the baby is born. And actually, Ayurveda, perhaps, as I discussed under Unmada, when they discussed, they actually relate this condition with a lifestyle, diet, and immune dysregulation. They also describe this along with a gut health, which now we in allopathy are now understanding that gut is a second brain. And if we cannot treat the brain directly, if we treat the gut, like gut inflammation or some kind of an indigestion and allergy, we will be able to affect the development of the child. There are specific diets given to few of the kids who respond, like gluten-free and casein-free diet, omega-3 fatty acid diets. Few kids will react for whom that factor, the gut factor, has been responsible for symptoms of autism. So it's a wide term.
Go ahead.
So it's a wide term. We really don't know which child is presenting because of what causes. Every child is unique, and that's the major hurdle which we face while handling these kids of autism, and especially their parents, who literally runs from pillars to post finding cure of autism. So if science reaches a conclusion why it's happening, we will be able to help this family much more. But at present, if we focus on lifestyle and diet, I think we are handling the roots or the soil properly. Then I'm expecting the plant and the fruits to be better only.
Beautiful, Ma. So such a beautiful introduction and bringing awareness to what causes autism and how we can see an autistic child. How do we observe? What kind of perceptions that we have on an autistic child? And Dr. Pranjal, I really want you to stay tuned, because we are now going to hear a testimonial of a child who had, such symptoms, and how, with the healing touch of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the child has shown enormous signs of healing, and how he is now, what kind of activities he is actually performing is mind-boggling. So very, very, very breakthrough in the field of autism we want to present today. With the healing and the blessings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, what can happen to a child who you thought was abnormal and who you thought had a lot of issues. I would now like to invite Ma Paramartha from the United States to come and share her experience as she observed her son go through the healing process with the Supreme Pontiff. Nithyananda Ma. Nithyananda Ma, can you please introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, and also introduce your son?
Okay. My name is Ma Nithya Paramarthananda. I'm from Dallas, Texas. And here's my son, Sugargnana Maharaj, Sri Nithya Sugargnana Maharaj. He's an initiated brahmachari. of Swamiji's by Swamiji, and
Wonderful, Ma. Thank you so much. And Nithyananda Maharaj, thank you for joining us on the panel today. Ma Paramatma, if you can share what kind of symptoms that you saw in your son as he was born and as he grew up, what kind of symptoms that you saw in your son and how it impacted you, your family, your husband?
Sure, Ma. Sudagnana was a normally developing child, and at the age of 17 months, we gave him a flu vaccination, and we have seen the world change. Like, he withdrew him into his own world. He stopped responding to his name, and then followed a lot of medical issues, allergies, inflammation.
And all this when he was 17 months?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. And then we had therapy after therapy. Like, I would be driving him 5-6 hours. I would be spending my time on the road, taking him from therapy to therapy, doctor to doctor. So we have tried many interventions. We have gone to many leading researchers in the United States.
What kind of symptoms you saw in him?
Socially withdrawn, not able to communicate. He had language, he had speech, but it was mainly echolalic. Means he would just repeat what he has heard before. Not that spontaneous language and communication wasn't present. Was difficult, very difficult for him. And then not being able to relate with other kids. These are a few symptoms that and a lot of medical issues. He couldn't eat foods. Like, he was on a rotation diet. So if I give rice, he could eat only that. I could give that only after 4 days. So a very strict rotation diet.
Wow.
Yes. So
autism spectrum disorder includes a variety of disorders. The spectrum. And as a mother, when you saw your son go through this, how did it impact you?
It was a lot of guilt, first, for not making good choices for him. Like, we did what the medical professionals have told us. Vaccinations are the best thing for your child. But that has affected his life, his future. And we even went to the extent of, I started looking for his group homes, which is a normal thing in the US for special, for people with special needs. And it was just very heartbreaking for me. And there was no future. I didn't know what to expect for him. And after, we've spent almost like $250,000 in various interventions, and there was no consistent progress.
Wow. So you used to go and meet different doctors, different therapists?
Yes. And he had...
So from what age to what age were you doing all these?
From age, we could say 2 till he was almost 7. So 5 years.
5 years you went to different doctors, different therapists, and
yes.
Did it help?
No, I mean, when we were doing some intervention, we would see some symptoms, some good progress. But then the moment we stopped that, he would go back to his. It's like jumping 5 steps and then he would fall back 4 steps. So very, very slow progress, and it wasn't consistent.
And at that moment, 4 years, 5 years, observing your son going this back and forth, how did it impact you as a mother?
It's very, there was no life for me. And there was no reason to live also. It's just running after, only after coming to Swamiji, things have changed for us.
How did you get to know about Swamiji?
When we were desperately looking for some solution, somewhere, a friend of mine introduced us to the local Sangha in Dallas. And then that's how we attended our first program in February of 2015.
So when she means local Sangha, it's basically the local Kailasa, the mission of the Supreme Pontiff, where she is, where we have a group of devotees, we have an organization in literally every city in the world. So she got introduced to the person who was a part of the organization. So they invited her for some program. What happened after that? Did you have hope?
Yes, that was the only, all my insecurities have slowly, I think the healing happened to me. All the guilt, anger, a lot of emotions.
This is after you started getting Swamiji's initiation.
Yes.
So did you meet him physically or was it all online?
I met him physically. We did our during our first inner awakening program. That's when, things started. Okay, there is hope. And Swamiji is the only one who could give him life. By the end of the program, that was that's what we felt.
What gave you that hope? And when was the first time you shifted from, almost giving up in life to having a hope? When did that shift happen?
It's after the Inner Awakening program.
So Inner Awakening is a just for all our viewers, Inner Awakening is a 21-day retreat conducted by the Supreme Pontiff. And did you take your son also to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you describe what happened after you went and had met Swamiji and received his initiation?
See, there's everybody out there, like the therapy, whoever we went to, the doctors, the best professionals in the world, they would label him. They would just give him diagnosis after diagnose. But Swamiji is the only person, he said, I will heal him. And by 13, you will see huge changes in him. I will take care of him. That assurance, nobody could give me. And that security we felt as parents, being with Swamiji after, during the program, that nobody else in the world could give us.
What kind of symptoms you started observing? What kind of changes you started observing in your son after receiving after going through the healing process and being there in India with Swamiji? What changes you started observing in your son?
He started physically, he was tolerating more foods. Before meeting Swamiji, it was like, I don't know what to cook for his next meal. It's like a struggle as a mother, moment to moment. What do I do next? What do I feed him next? From that, I relaxed. Okay, he's fine. He's being taken care of. And then he started tolerating more and more foods. That itself has changed my life.
He was able to eat normally.
Yes.
Wow.
And then even the language part. Language is the mark which I would is a mark for me, an indication as to how he was doing. So when there was, I could see more and more spontaneous language, more and more interest in other people, in, just likes to be around people. So these are a few things, that's how it started. The changes have started.
And, when he couldn't eat anything and then he could start eating a lot of food, he could start eating normal food, what did that leave you with? How did you feel as a mother seeing that child who could not eat for, 5 years, from the 2 years to 7 years. And after the healing touch of Swamiji, he was able to eat normal food. He started communicating more. How did that impact you? How did you feel? What was the experience that you went through?
It's a huge relief as a mother. It's always who will take care of him after I'm gone, after the parents are gone. That's the biggest worry we as parents we had. And as we are seeing these small changes, but very big in our lives, those have given us hope that he will be fine and he will be able to function independently.
And now, what do you see in him? What all have happened in him? How is he living now? What kind of lifestyle is he living now?
We have been in Swamiji's ecosystem the past 5 years, since 2016 June. Well, life has just, it's a beautiful beginning for me and for all of us, for the three of us actually. So till then it was like, okay, he is a child with deficits, or we have to fix this in him, we have to fix that in him. But once we started living in the Adinam, nobody saw him, not just, Swamiji, of course, he would relate to everybody differently, but every other Adinavasi, they saw him as a possibility, not as a child of, with disability or with deficits. That changed me, that changed him. That environment, that ecosystem has made a huge impact in him. And with the mirror neurons, the kids on the spectrum have a deficit or difficulty with the mirror neurons. And so from even during 2017 also, he wasn't able to do yogasanas. He would struggle with them. But now, every day he wakes up at 3:30.
Wow.
He follows his routine. He does yoga. And then during the day, 108 Surya Namaskars. He would never miss his spiritual routine. Now he's learning Sanskrit. He loves music. He loves to be around others. He loves to go to the temple, be part of the temple rituals.
Wow.
Somebody asked him, what do you want to be when you grow up? Then he goes, I want to be at the temple. I want to do all the rituals at the temple. So
wow.
that is how he sees himself, or just living in the ecosystem around Swamiji.
Wow. From a child who was taking, Paramata was sharing that he was taking around 40 plus medicines and supplements on a single day. And today he doesn't take even one. Absolutely no supplement. His food has become completely normal, and he does yoga at 3:30 a.m. in the morning. Yes, not 3:30 p.m. 3:30 a.m. in the morning. He does yoga every single day. He has a completely normal diet. He goes through, he's learning Sanskrit now, learning the rituals. He is now an initiated Krama Brahmachari who's living the lifestyle of a Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means literally living like God. You know what Swamiji once said in the satsang when he was talking about kids with disabilities and autism? He said, when you bring an abnormal child back, I will not give you a normal child. I will give you a super normal child back. And when I see Sugagnana and when I see the transformation in him and what Ma Paramartha has shared, he is definitely today a super normal child. And I would now like to invite Dr. Pranjal, to come back. And she has actually seen, as a pediatrician, she has seen and she has observed the changes that Sugagnana has gone through, what kind of difficulties that he went through as a child, in the Adinam. Because it so happened that Pranjal was in the monastery while Paramartha had brought Sugagnana for the program. So, Dr. Pranjal, what is it that you want to say as you observe Sugagnana before and after the Supreme Pontiff's healing?
See, my smile will perhaps tell me how I'm feeling looking at him at present. So I was volunteering in children's program when the inner awakening was happening along with my kid, and he was one of the kid. And I still remember there was a special diet made for him. And I mean, I really appreciate Adinam was really giving a special food for him. It's not an easy thing. And Paramatma Ma will go from main hall to here to see whether the child is getting the diet and skin reactions. That was one thing. Secondly, I had seen repetitive behaviors in him, some kind of postures and quite a lot of meltdown, which is very specific for kids with autism when they can't express, or when they are expressing and we regular so-called human being are not able to understand them. What option they have then to have a meltdown, which he actually had. He had quite a lot of sensory issues, especially tactile, hypersensation or sensory seeking issues. His grandmother used to be accompanying him during that time, a beautiful lady again. And after a couple of years, I saw him again in Adinam, sitting nicely independently in a Raj Sabha, went and picked up a plate from the regular food, came and eat all alone without any kind of independence. The mother was somewhere else and he was absolutely all right. There was zero meltdown. I had observed this kid for 21 days. I know him kind of in and out when you spend 3 weeks nearly throughout the day. There were no clue about whether this kid could have had meltdown or expression issue or understanding issues. There was language whenever he wanted to speak, and which was very clear. There was no allergies issues. His skin was completely normal. And I did not see any kind of sensory seeking issues at that time. And at that time itself, I realized, wow, this is changed. And whenever we treat kids with allergies and associated, especially the food associated allergies, it's very difficult to treat, or actually we cannot treat it. We either eliminate the diet the way she was doing it, or when it's really life threatening, we kind of give them immunotherapy, but again, only for life threatening illnesses. And here this kid who had multiple food allergies, documented, proven, clinically seen, vanished without any kind of so-called intervention. There is no logical scientific explanation for this now. There is nothing which science or as a doctor, pediatrician part can explain why this happened, how this happened. So there is something else beyond our cognition. And to me as a disciple, I know it's his grace and nothing else which has worked here. And I think once his gut inflammation settled, his brain inflammation kind of settling down, and his brain became available, he became available to be molded. He started perceiving the things when his own inner struggle in the gut settled and then the brain settled. Again, the lifestyle and the diet, how it plays a big role, he is one of the example. And how logic doesn't explain so many things is another a great example. I've seen the changes in mother also. I mean, I'm a mother myself. I've seen her going through what she was going through, and now such a sorted out mother. An example family perhaps is what I can say. So very happy to see him.
And Dr. Pranjit, do you want to share from your experience as a mother, going through your child? So maybe if you want to describe a little bit about your son and what he went through, and what are the changes that you observed in him after you started following and receiving the initiations and the healing touch of Swamiji.
Sure. So honestly, I have a son, which is 16-year-old son. Again, because of him, actually, I went to Swamiji. Otherwise, my life was pretty good. Everything was fairly in control, good career, everything the way you wanted. You work for it and you get it. That is the real concept which we were living till he came in life and he started having some kind of a developmental issues, motor coordination issues, hypotonia. He underwent an intestinal surgery. So he had quite a lot of diarrheas and multiple things. And I was completely broken. My full powerful self that if I work towards it, I get the results, that logic was actually shattered. I was a completely distressed mother whose career was again going haywire. As a mother, I was struggling to, make my kid something which I perceived as normal. And in that process, I was very, very badly failing. The whole family structure, my whole life was actually on the verge of collapsing. And that is the reason a logical person like me kind of, as Paramatma said, we go to pillars and post when you are in distress. And I came to Swamiji. So again, we attended the program Inner Awakening in, I think, 2009 first, along with my kid. And the first thing which I realized is my child doesn't need help. I need help. And actually, I got the help out there. There were so many emotions, so many questions of why me, why my child, and multiple negative emotions of guilt, anger, frustration. You ask and everything was there, which I was carrying for nearly maybe 3.5 years, and still struggling, putting a very steady face that no, I can make it, and failing. And I got helped out. I realized I am at peace with myself, which was the biggest achievement. And I think the first milestone which any parent with a child with any kind of condition should go through. And once I started being comfortable with myself, I realized my child doesn't need actually anything specific. I stopped breaking my child and then trying to make him something which I considered normal. I actually started looking at him as a child with potential who has been locked in a box because of certain limitations, which were not, allowing him to flower. So once that perspective came into picture, I started working on him in a different context. And as I said, as Swamiji says, intentions matters much more than action. So my intention completely changed. I continued with working the therapies and the training, which I think still mainstay of training these kids to have a regular lifestyle of if they want to get integrated in a regular society. But once the limitations, which gradually kind of he started coming out, his potential started out, kid. I wish I would have been such a teenager at his age. Amazing emotional stability, which again, logically, any 16-year-old kid cannot have. Forget a kid who has always been struggling for survival needs to be part of the system. That is one
Wow.
major plus point. Again, how Swamiji worked on him, honestly, there is no logical explanation of where exactly he got help, the way perhaps Ma Paramatma has a specific objective evidence of allergies. But I can tell you that at 3 years, if you would have asked me, visualize my son at 16, and my visualization about him at 16, and right now what he is, there is no comparison. And the
Wow.
gap is so big. The gap is so big of what I could have logically expected him to do, and right now what he is. I think the whole gap is where Swamiji's role comes into picture. It's
Beautiful, Ma.
only grace which can make things happen beyond your logic.
Beautiful.
There's no answer for it.
Beautifully put. As a pediatrician and as a mother, just observing the changes in the child itself. We had an amazing sharing, and it is not just Paramata or not just Pranjal. We have multiple mothers who have, for the mother, more than a child, especially when it is a child with symptoms of autism, the child doesn't even realize, what he or she has, but it is the mother who goes through and, sees that little changes in the child or little things in the child and able to observe whether the child is reacting properly or not. And they are the first ones to actually observe the healing that is happening in the child. And today we have one more mother from US who's here, whose child has had a miraculous healing from the Supreme Pontiff. And we would like to invite the mother also to come and share. Nithyananda Ma Pranita Ma, if you can please unmute and introduce yourself.
Nithyananda Ma, my name is Pranita and I am from Dallas, Texas. I have been introduced to Swamiji through one of my known friend, and I met Swamiji for first in 2015 through an online program. That's when I was the only one who attended that program from my family, and that was a 3-day online program, and that was the first time I have experienced a change in me. I did completions, and through that I have seen a drastic change in me. And then later on in 2016 December, with my whole family, we came to Swamiji.
Also, Adma, while you're sharing just a little bit about your son, what was the situation around him before you went to Swamiji and then after, so that we can understand.
Yeah, before Swamiji, when the first time when my son was having learning disabilities, he was a slow learner. He's a slow learner. So and lot of anxiety issues and hyperactivity, not able to focus. This is what we were going through, and I was able to identify that something was going wrong when he was around 15 months. When he was around 15 months, that's exactly after he has taken MMR vaccination. I started noticing drastic changes in my son. Before that, he was growing normally. All the developmental skills were normal. He was able to talk little words and clap and make eye contact. All those were there. And once we got MMR vaccination, he got very bad fever, and then slowly within 1 month I have seen that he got withdrawn from us. He was not able to interact with us, not able to come and that love, that hug, that attention seeking, everything was gone. He used to be like a regular child. He used to always want my attention, and all that was gone, and he was not responding to me. Then I started and seeing that something is happening in him, and I started researching and went to the doctor, and that's how my journey started. And it was very struggle because my son was not verbal that time. He was not having speech, and he was going through a lot of anxiety issues and all those things. And eventually,
And after you came to know about Swamiji, and after you came to Swamiji, what are the changes you started observing in you as a mother and your son?
yeah, and the first when I came to Swamiji, I understood, like my doctor was saying, like I understood that the healing needed, I need the healing first, more than my son. That's what I realized. I was going through lot of stress, lot of fear, anxiety issues, lot of unknown, like what is going to be next. That kind of fear used to be there. Am I doing the right thing? Always self-doubting myself. Is it right? Is this the right way to do, or is it the right way to teach my child? Am I feeding him right? Am I taking him to the right therapist, right doctor? That kind of doubts were there, and every day was a stressful day. Every day was like it used to be horrible for me. Then I went to Swamiji, and when I got healed, I have done Pada Puja for Swamiji. During that time, I requested Swamiji to heal my son, and he said, I will take care of him, and I'll heal him. And when he said that, on that day, I still remember that moment now. I felt so assured and so secured that okay, like I felt like I got assurance from the cosmic mother. And I felt like okay, now my son will be okay, I will be okay, and we are in a protective environment, and he will be taken care. That kind of assurance was given to me through the cosmos on that day. I really felt the whole thing in my system. I could still remember that moment.
And what changes are you seeing after that? After you came to Swamiji, and you went through the process, and Swamiji's healing touch. How's your son doing now?
Now my son, when my perception has changed, like I started looking at my son now in a possibility, instead of instead of an issue or something is going on, something he can't do academics. That perception has gone, and I started looking in like what he can do better. My son shows a lot of interest in cooking and helping me in the kitchen. He always stands next to me and he wants to cook, cut the vegetables, help me in the kitchen. Then I understood that this is the way he finds a lot of joy, and he enjoys when he does that. And then slowly I started introducing him, and he enjoys cooking. He enjoys cutting vegetables, and participates with me everywhere we go. And earlier he used to be very anxious to get into the public places, especially when it was involved with a lot of crowd. He used to be very anxious, very anxiety issues, never used to show interest. It used to be difficult for us to take somewhere, but now he shows a lot of interest. We can take him to all the places, to the camping, to parties, or anywhere, to temples, like large crowd places, and he enjoys, he participates in it. And mainly I have to focus one thing. My son got initiated with the Shiva Diksha program from Swamiji, and after that program we were meat eaters. Earlier we used to eat meat, and after the Shiva Diksha program we stopped eating meat, and we stopped giving meat to my son. And I have seen a drastic change after that. He started doing Shiva Puja every day, and his diet does only have vegetables and fruits and grains, and no meat or egg. And I noticed that his anxiety issues got dropped. Actually, he doesn't have any anxiety issues now. He is very subtle and very, very stable boy. He became a very stable boy.
Wow.
All issues have gone. So that is a change we have noticed, a drastic change, which I wanted to emphasize on.
Beautiful, Ma. It's just so touching and so melting to hear from the mothers, because it's the mothers who go through, a tremendous pain and suffering and guilt and whatnot, and just seeing what each of you are sharing, how much you have seen your sons go through this kind of a transformation, and how healing and how reassuring it is for a mother. And how do you see your son's future?
Now I got a lot of confidence that I can find a job for my son. He can get a job, he can work at a place, and he can be independent, uh, and with some help. He needs some help, but earlier I used to think like he can't go for a walk, he can't work like anyone, he can't earn money, but now I got a lot of confidence that I can find a job for him, he can contribute to the society. That confidence I have got it now.
Beautiful, Ma. Thank you so much, Ma Pranita Ma, for coming and sharing. Because on this World Autism Awareness Day, where the mothers and the parents are stuck with autistic children and taking them to therapies and doctors, and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on trying to find some kind of cure. And here is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who has demonstrated how the healing happens in the autistic children, not just one or two out there, but to hundreds of autistic children. Swamiji has given the spiritual healing. If you are a parent of an autistic child, we just want to share one thing to you on this World Autism Awareness Day. There is hope. And the name of that hope is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Just get your child to receive the initiation from Swamiji. And for that, you don't have to travel all the way. You don't have to take international flights. You don't have to get visas. You just sit and tune into your computer. We have a 16-day program where Swamiji gives healing. And it's called Paramashivoham. You can go to paramashivoham.org, where you can, for your child, receive that online initiation from Swamiji. And we have Nithyananda Gurukuls, where online we we teach this science, and we teach the child about themselves. We teach the child about how to manifest these extraordinary powers. And we are really telling you, just from the sharings of hundreds of parents out there, there is hope for you. Don't give up on you. Don't give up on your child. Just bring the child to Swamiji. We have an incarnation who can spiritually heal your child, and that is hope for you. And now we're going to play one more very touching testimonial of a father who heard his daughter speak for the first time in 2 years. Let's watch.
Nithyanandam. I'm Mukundan from Melbourne, Australia. I come for this IA with my elder daughter Sahana and my wife and second daughter Shivya. My wife prayed to Lord Kartikeya to show us a way to heal my second child who is suffering from autism. During the first darshan, Swamiji looked at my face and he told, I will heal your daughter completely. It's my commitment to you. And I was, after 21 days, how is my daughter doing? I'm happy to say that she has completely transformed all the patterns associated with autism. Like just 2 days back, my daughter, she started to say Appa and Amma when she's crying, and that's something unbelievable.
So she can't talk, or she can't understand commands, or she doesn't like crowd, and she doesn't like loud noises. But she has broken all of these with Swamiji's blessings. Now she's able to do what all I've mentioned, and all due to Swamiji's blessings. And also she's starting to do a bit of third eye as well. So she's able to play games on the iPad with the eye mask. And so I would like to thank Swamiji for his blessings and his great gift for us. Thank you.
Even autistic kids, the special attention needed kids, the special kids, nothing, just if they breathe my space, that's all. If they breathe my prana, that's all. Simply healing happens. You bring an abnormal child, I will not give you the normal child back. I will give you super normal child back.
As we are observing the World Autism Awareness Day, We wanted to take a moment to share with you hundreds and thousands of testimonials of various children and adults who have been healed from autism by the healing touch, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. Today, we would like to share with you the testimonials of a parent of a child who was diagnosed with autism. And we would like the parent to share her journey of how she saw the child recover through the healing touch of our beloved Swamiji. So I would like to now invite Ma Sujata from Tamil Nadu, India. Nithyananda Ma. Nithyananda Ma, can you introduce about yourself, your name, where you're from, and what do you do?
Actually, I'm from Chennai. My name is Sujata Chandrasekharan. Actually, I'm a housewife and a parent of a autistic child. He has been diagnosed as ADHD actually. And he was studying in one special school for more than 6 years. And he's usually very hyperactive. He cannot sit in school even for 5 minutes together actually.
When was it diagnosed? When did you get to know that he was not a normal child?
Actually, even after 3 years of his age, he did not start to speak anything. Even he did not call me even Amma, or he has not yet started. So I had a doubt whether he is having any kind of problem. I wanted to ask some doctor, but somebody instructed me to put him in a school, and that is also Montessori school, which was there in Texas. Actually, when then I was in US, he was there in that Montessori school almost for 4 months, 5 months. Even within that period, he did not start to speak anything. He all the time he used to roam around and he will not sit at one place. uh, so they had this kind of doubt. uh, until then I have not even came to know about this disease at all.
Once you came to know and once he was diagnosed, how did you feel as a parent?
As a parent, I have to weep. What can I do? Actually, then only I came to know about this disease, and I realized that there is no cure at all for in any kind of medical field. Like almost, I tried all the possible ways in all possible medical system, like naturopathy, homeopathy, allopathy, and this Siddha, Ayurveda, acupuncture, um, Varma, and that Ayurvedic massage and everything, pranic healing, and almost I did occupational therapy, speech therapy, and I tried all my best. And even after that, I did not see major improvement in.
Ma, if you can share, like before Swamiji healed your son, how was his behavior? How was your inner space? How did you feel about you? How did you feel about life? And after Swamiji started healing your son, what changes you observed in him? And what changes you observed in you and in your husband? How did life change around you after he started receiving healing from Swamiji?
He used to be more hyperactive and he will not sit at one place usually. So we have to run behind him to take care of him. And he used to make more noise. And we cannot take him anywhere in public function also. In front of Swamiji, he will be so quiet. I myself wonder how is it possible, even because we cannot make him to sit at one place even for continuously for 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
That much difficult. It's
What
actually
other changes you observed? What other changes you observed in your son?
Actually, he started to speak and he little bit in 1 or 2 words, and he will not start his own conversation. But when we are talking with him, he is able to respond very nicely with 1 or 2 words. he is able to obey so many orders from us.
And
So
this
he's
before you met Swamiji, this was not the case. Like before Swamiji's healing, it was not like that.
yeah, not this much actually. Very he was able to follow very little instruction. Sometimes he will not even listen what I am saying. Actually, he is that much hyperactive, and he won't even listen what I say. He was in that condition. Even if I call his name, he will not even turn his head and look at me. He was in that level actually. There won't be much eye contact also actually. He used to see my face even after shouting only. He will turn around and see my face. Otherwise, if I call by his name Abhi, he will not even turn and look at me. That he was in that condition actually. But after he came to Swamiji, then only he started to respond so nicely. Just because of Swamiji's presence, he can be so cool and calm. That itself made me wonder actually.
Absolutely. So beautifully shared, Masujatama. Thank you so much for coming and sharing. I know as a parent, it may not be very easy to come in the open and share what you did, but we really appreciate you coming and doing this so that other autistic parents and kids diagnosed with autism can be healed. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nithyananda.
Like this, we could play only a few testimonials and sharings today. But it is not just one or two or a few. Hundreds and hundreds of autistic children with autism have been healed by the healing touch of Swamiji. The parents are seeing miraculous improvements, miraculous healings, which they were never able to observe by the best doctors and the best therapists and the best hospitals out there. So on this World Autism Awareness Day, we wanted to share with you that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, having taken responsibility for this disorder, for autism, is of making himself available for spiritually healing any autistic child detected with autism, any kind of a slow mental development or mental disabilities or slow learning capabilities, anything that you observe in a child, immediately receive the initiation of the Supreme Pontiff, which is being given in every satsang. We have a 16-day program called Paramashivokam. We have every day, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism comes live for initiation. Just have them sit and observe and watch Swamiji as Swamiji comes live and gives the darshan. We have the Kala Bhairava Bhavasamadhi darshan coming up on the 4th of April. You can join in that. You can just be connected on the two-way video conferencing when Swamiji is live, and let your child see Swamiji and let Swamiji's divine grace fall on your child. That itself will kickstart the healing process. And Swamiji has also given a beautiful Nitya Kriya. Nitya Kriya is a series of yogic postures, breathing techniques, mudras, bandhas for curing autism. And you can avail, it's completely free of cost. You can find out the exact steps of that Nitya Kriya if you go to tinyurl.com/autism kriya. The link is projected in the bottom of the slide. You can observe, take cognizance of that, make note of that, and teach it to your child. And as when Swamiji introduced this Kriya, he said, I am giving this Kriya so that even a child detected with autism will be able to do this Kriya. So very simple steps, a set of yogic postures, breathing techniques, which can really help the child cure from autism. And if you're watching this, and if you know any parent, any family struggling with child with signs of autism, immediately share this live stream with them. Ask them to watch how many children have been healed by the spiritual healing touch of our beloved Swamiji, and immediately get them to Swamiji. That is the biggest and the only gift you can give to a family suffering with a child with signs of autism. There is a hope for every autistic child. There is a hope for every parent who has a child detected with autism. And that hope is called the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Nithyananda Parmashiva.
You're always showing us compassion. Your love is endless like an ocean. Nithyananda.